اليوم أنا وين؟ اليوم أنا على موفي سات بفنتشر اكس بميسيساغا لفيلم لمريم موماني رفيقتي واختي، بعرفها من زمان، بعرفها من أول ما بلشت اي ستوديوز. هيدا أول فيلم لمريم، هي بتكون المخرجة بالفيلم اسمه In Her Shoes. هيدا أول فيلم مريم تعمل له إخراج. مريم قبل عاملة برودكشن لأنذر فيلم، وأكيد بتشتغل كتير على الادفرتايزنج والدعايات وهالقصص. anyways بدنا نتعرف على مريم اليوم ونتعرف على الاكترز والاكترسز بالسات. هيدا ثالث يوم هن عم بيصوروا الفيلم. super excited for مريم, super excited to show you behind the scenes in her shoes. Let's go.
My name is Mariam Momani. I'm a producer and a director. I've been here. I was born in Canada, but I grew up in Jordan. I am Jordanian, half Palestinian, and proud of that. I moved back to Canada 7 years ago and to pursue my education here. I did media and communications at York University, and I started my business right after. I have a video production business. It's called II3 Studios. So II3 Studios اسمها II3 Studios هي بالأصل 23 Studios. 23 Studios اجت من فكرة إنه في 22 بلد عربية. العالم ال 23 هو لكل العرب المغتربين بكل أنحاء العالم. أوقات كتير هذا المغترب بحس إنه هو بطل يوسع ببلده، بطل هذا بلده الوحيد، صار له بلدين، وبنفس الوقت البلد اللي رايح عليها بتكون بطلت قوية مش بالحقيقة وطنه، فبكون بده يخلق وطن جديد لإله بأفكاره، بإحساسه، بفنه، بكل شيء. فإحنا عملنا هذا الاستوديو بيسكلي تيصير يعمل هاي الكونتنت، هاي الأفلام، هذا الإنتاج اللي بيخدم هاي الفئة من الناس.
Beautiful.
In Her Shoes is a very special film to me for two reasons. One, it's my first film directing experience, and two, because this project means a lot to our community, the Canadian Arab community. I feel amazing about this because honestly, it was initially just an idea in my head, and seeing this idea and those characters come to life from the development phase till today in the production, it means a lot. This film, the whole purpose of this film is to debunk myths around the Arab identity. It touches upon several themes, including this mainly, but also Arab women in leadership. We touch upon employment barriers that Arab women face. What's also something that's really special about this project is that it's not just fiction. Of course, a lot of it, it's a fictional film, it's a narrative, but a lot of it is based on an actual report that has been published by our partners, the Canadian Arab Institute, where we've used some of the statistics and content and information and data from that report and have included it in our script in the development phase. In Her Shoes بلشت فكرته لما تواصلوا معنا the Canadian Arab Institute اللي هم شركائنا بهذا العمل. جانا فند من الكنديان government، الحكومة الكندية، specifically الكنديان heritage. الفند هذا الفكرة تبعته إنه هو إنه نصنع محتوى فيه ضد العنصرية في كندا بشكل عام. إحنا الفيلم تبعنا بيحكي أكثر عن العنصرية ضد المرأة العربية في سيستم الشغل في كندا. العنصرية إشي كتير كبير وواسع، له كتير أجزاء ممكن نحكي عنها ونضوي عليها، بس إحنا اخترنا هذا التوبيك لحتى يكون سبيسيفيكلي عن المرأة العربية في مكان العمل في كندا. فما كان كله من وحي الخيال، أكيد هو فيلم طبعا خيالي، ناريتيف الجانر تبعته، بس كتير من الكاركترز اللي خلقناهم وإحنا عم نكتب الفيلم كانوا متاخدين كمان من التقرير، من الأرقام، من الأشياء الحقيقية اللي إحنا كنا عم نشوفها، ما كان بس إنه هو خيال فقط لا غير. أنا اليوم فخورة كتير ومبسوطة طبعاً بإنه الكوميونيتي تبعتنا، الكوميونيتي العربية الكندية قادرة تتشارك مع الكوميونيتيز التانية الموجودة في كندا. مبسوطة كتير إني أشوف شباب بعمر صغير the Canadian Arab youth come together نعمل هيك مشروع with all the passion, all the energy، كل المواهب اللي عم بشوفها على السات. كتير مبسوطة بهذا الشيء بشوفه اليوم، وشيء فعلاً جميل وبفرح القلب. الفيلم في تارجت معين من الفيورشيب. هلا الفكرة الرئيسية هي إنه إحنا نعمل تغيير. اللي بيحضر هذا الفيلم كإنسان ما بيعرف قد ايه العالم العربي فيه diversity، قد ايه إحنا كعرب نيجي من كل من كل الباك جراوندز، في منا المسلم وفي منا المسيحي، في منا الابيض وفي منا الاشقر وفي منا الاسمر، في عنا لهجات، في عنا تاريخ، في عنا حضاره. هذا الشيء كله بنحاول نعكسه بهذا الفيلم القصير على الاقل، او نورجي الشيء اللي بنقدر عليه منه. والفكره هي انه كل ما يكون في انسان عم بيحضر هذا الفيلم وعم بحس انه انا اليوم عم بعرف اكثر عن هذا العالم، هذا الشيء هو اللي احنا يعني بنسعى له. الخطوة الثانية بس نخلص الفيلم، في عدد معين من الناس بنطمح انه يحضروا الفيلم. It will be online، يكون في private screenings لإله، وبعد هيك ان شاء الله رح ناخده على المهرجانات في كل انحاء العالم، وخلينا نشوف وين بيوصل.
Hello, my name is Mike Mazurkovich, and I am the actor playing the role of Ronald. I have been working on the acting game for like 5 or 6 years now. And I've done a lot of training. I've been really lucky to have a lot of fun experiences. This past summer I played a husband who starts out really sincere and then ends up becoming the villain in a sci-fi horror movie. The year before that I played a husband who starts out as the villain but ends up becoming a nice guy in a different sci-fi thriller. A film that I co-produced actually, Snow Blinded, just won the award for Best Mutilation at the Fright Night Film Festival in Austria, because my character does some pretty messed up stuff. And I love acting, I love it. I do anything for it. I frequently do, because it's just so amazing as an experience to be able to live other lives, sometimes little pieces of them, sometimes deep and complete windows into them, while still getting to be myself and not actually do those often intense and crazy things. So they actually had a different actor for the role of Ronald, and unfortunately that actor had something come up, and then a friend of mine was like, oh, do you want to talk to these guys about this role? And it aligned. And Ronald represents a lot of old and traditional beliefs about gender and race and culture that sadly still exist, and he's kind of an extreme case of them. He's a bit of an extreme case of that prejudice and entitlement, but it was my job as an actor to make that as real as possible, so that even in the extremism of it resonates as much as possible with the average person, because he's not saying these things because he wants to be a horrible person. He's being rude to these girls because he feels like it is his job to test them, and he is taking it personally because he sees a world changing around him and feels like it's changing unfairly without him, and he's trying to hold on to what he believes is his right that he worked for, without having been able to see how his privilege is part of what got him to where he is. So he has that entitlement, and he's obviously the way he's written is extremely rude and toxic. But even the most rude and toxic people, it still comes from some form of fear or insecurity, some sort of neglected need for self-love and feelings of worthiness. So I tried to bring as much of that even to a role like Ronald, so that even though he's not the nicest guy, he's still a real person who has reasons that in his head make sense for the things that he is and the things that he does and the things that he says. Actually, I grew up in Kitchener, where I still live in my parents' basement, which I'm really, really lucky for, and living in my parents' basement allows me to focus more on acting and screenwriting, so I'm really happy about that, really grateful. My background is an Eastern European blend, a bit of German, Russian, Romanian, Polish, and Ukrainian. I grew up with a lot of time outside. My parents didn't really believe in television. They believed in camping and sending the kids outside to play with each other or by themselves. So I had a lot of imaginary friends growing up. I had a couple of amazing childhood friends that I'm very grateful for, but I also had a lot of imaginary friends, and I think that's part of what has allowed me to love acting so much, is that it's kind of living in an imaginary universe, which is kind of what my childhood was. Yeah, but I really love time outdoors. I love martial arts. At the age of 8, I saw the Ninja Turtles, and I said that's what I want to be when I grow up. So my parents found a local dojo and tried to turn me into a turtle through genetic implants. The second part of that is not true, but I've loved martial arts ever since. Yoga, karate, tai chi, kabuto. And I have a 16-year-old son who also lives with my parents and I, which is an amazing young man, and I'm very grateful to have him in my life as well. Very few dull moments. You know, when I read the script, there were things about the Arab Canadian experience and the female Arab Canadian experience that had never occurred to me, that made me think, that made me learn. So I was like, oh, I think this project is very important, because if I learned from it, if I had a perspective shift from reading it, then maybe other people will watch it and also learn something, or have a perspective shift, or figure out something that they didn't realize before, or see a new perspective. So to me, that came off as being very important, and something that I wanted to be a part of, because I read it and I learned from it, and I was like, other people can learn from this too. Yeah, Mariam's a lot of fun. She has a really great team, and she trusts her team, which I think is one of the biggest secrets to success. Hire people that know what they're doing and trust them. So, she's been very good about that. It feels like a very collaborative environment where everybody is participating and saying, well, what if the character does this? And she's like, well, the character is doing this. And everyone's, because you have a script, and then you have the storyboards, and you have all this vision. But once you're on set, that vision grows to something bigger than it originally was, because you have the input and the creativity and the emotion of all the actors involved, all the cinematography team, all the sound team. Everyone sort of shifts and molds it together. So you really want an environment where everybody feels creatively valued, and Mariam has done a very good job of creating that. So it's very fun to be here.
Hi, my name is Drea Burke, and I play Kathy in this film. I have been acting off and on actually for a very long time, and usually sort of do it for a while and then get back into the real world, and then I'm pulled back into the creative world again. And it's only recently that I've decided that I'm just going to stay in the creative world, and really keep going. I've done more theater probably than film projects, so it's always kind of exciting to be on set, because everything is still new, and every day, literally, I'm learning something new. I was born in Oakville, and my family moved around quite a lot when I was little, and then when I was 10, we moved to Northern Ontario, which was an eye-opening experience. I kind of thought maybe my parents didn't love us because we had sort of an outhouse and a well, and it wasn't the kind of life I was used to, but it totally was a new experience. And then I came back to Toronto right after I finished grade 13, and have been in Toronto since then, and traveled around as much as I could. I've gone to visit family in Germany, which is where both my parents come from, and also, traveling around in the rest of Europe a lot. Kathy's one of those people who thinks she's doing the right thing. She thinks she's very open-minded and tolerant and embracing new cultures and stuff, but she still, I think, deep down has a distrust or a fear of the other. But she doesn't want to be caught out, and so she does things the way you're supposed to. She's politically correct and tries hard to do the right thing, but somehow she's just kind of missing that connection of doing the right thing and actually thinking of the other, but they're real people. And I think she doesn't necessarily treat the interview candidates in this film as real people. I was so excited when I read the script. I'm usually not a very visual thinker, but this script, the way it was written, really made it visual for me. And I love the way they have the shots of all the women being interviewed, and sort of the same shot of each one, pushing the elevator button, their shoes, how they come into the office. And I thought that was really neat. And obviously it's a very timely message. and sort of an important issue. So I think it's something that I can feel proud to be a part of. Mariam is lovely to work with. I feel as though she almost always has a smile on her face, and she takes the time to express her gratitude to the people around her, and is very, encouraging and supportive. And she makes me feel very valued to be part of the team.
هاي أنا اسمي مايا شربين، جيت على كندا من 8 سنين. فخورة بلبنانيتي وكتير ممتنة إني صرت كندية. I'm a single mom. عندي ولدين teenagers. جيت على كندا من 8 سنين. I'm a fashion designer. بلشت البراند تبعي هون بكندا، وقدرت لبس بهالسنين اللي جيتها كتير عالم مشهورين. بلبس رئيس البلدية عنا بالمنطقة اللي أنا عايشة فيها، لبست مس كندا، لبست مشاهير من تف، عملت كذا عرض أزياء بتورونتو، بإيطاليا، بدبي. ما كان سهل انك تبلشي حياة جديدة ببلد جديد ما بتعرفي فيه حدا، بس كان في كتير عالم دعموني وآمنوا فيي. قدرت وكله من خلال بس لبسي، يعني كنت البس تيابي انا عملتها وروح على ايفنتس، والعالم تسألني مين ملبسك، وبعدين هول نفس العالم يصيروا زبوناتي وبعدين يصيروا اصحابي. كان كتير في دعم، وبتمنى انه كل العالم اللي بتجي جديدة تكون عندها هيدا الدعم. مشان هيك انا بقدر بجرب بطريقتي انه اذا بقدر ساعد حدا جديد اجا ادعم لحتى سهل شوي الامور على العالم اللي بتجي جديد، لانه مش هينة وصعبة كتير انك تجي على بلد جديد. تجي على بلد جديد ما كان شي هين، بعيدة أميال وساعات عن بلدك الأم اللي أنت عملتي فيه ذكريات، أحلى ذكريات، كبرتي وعملتي ذكرياتك فيها. أكيد كان في كتير أشياء صعبة، تجي مع ولدين صغار، بدك تفوتي بالسيستم، بدك تتعرفي، بدك تشوفي، بدك تعملي كل شي من أصله. كان في صعوبة، وبنفس الوقت يعني أنا شخص بقدر أتأقلم بسهولة، وهيدا يعني نعمة. أنا بقول يعني في عالم أوقات ما بيكون عندها إياها، هيدي كانت نعمة إنه أنا قدرت أتأقلمت بسرعة أكتر من غيري. أكتر صعوبة بلاقيها هي الطقس، يعني بتمنى إنه كندا تكون أدفى، بس كمان تأقلمت وماشي الحال. يعني بضل الإنسان بده يكون يعني يكون في عنده قناعة بالشي اللي بيعمله، والحياة حلوة يعني you make the best out of it. بشتاق لريحة لبنان، ما بعرف إذا في ريحة على لبنان، بس الهواء بلبنان، البحر، ما بعرف روح لبنان. وين ما بتروحي بتحسي إنه بقلن عطول إنه عقلي هون بس قلبي بعده تحت. بجرب انزل بالقليلة مرة بالسنة، بجرب حافظ على العادات تبعنا، بحكي لغتنا بالبيت، بجرب فهم الأولاد إنه نحن عنا أصول، عنا أشياء كتير حلوة، كونوا فخورين فيها، قولوا إنكم لبنانية. وبجرب عطول حافظ على هالشي بالأكل بالبيت، بجرب إنه ينزلوا مرة أو مرتين بالسنة على بيروت. it's nice يعني إنه الإنسان يكون عنده أصول يفتخر فيها. كل شيء في عبرة بالحياة، وكل شيء بتتعلميه ما ممكن يروح ضيعان. أنا بوقت من الأوقات كنت ميك اب ارتست، واللي صار اليوم اون سيت خلال هول ال3 أيام كنت أنا الستايلست والوردروب دايركتور أول يوم. ثاني يوم ما بقى في ميك اب ارتست، بقى I ended up عملت الميك اب، وكان شيء كتير شعور حلو انه تقدري تستفيدي من كل شيء تعلمتيه وقدرتي ساعدتي فيه. So I ended up being the makeup artist, the hair and the stylist and wardrobe director. So بالعادة أنا معودة على الستريس تبع الفاشن شو. So كان في kind of stress بين الكاميرات وهدول الأشياء، بس كمان يعني dealing with 20 موديل بفاشن شو ساعدني انه انا يكون هين هذا الموضوع و it goes smoothly و to go with the flow. So اشتغلت wardrobe وانا برأيي يعني it turned out really well انه الوردروب مع الميك اب تكمل الموضوع كله سوا لانه كله بيكمل بعضه. سو كانت كثير اكسبيرينس حلوه وانا بكل شيء بعمله ام اوبن اني اتعلم اشياء جديده وبعدني بتعلم بكل شيء بعمله شيء جديد وهيدي نعمه انه كل واحد كل شيء بيعمله يتعلم فيه. مايا شربين عندي اليوتيوب شانل تبعي you can find all my fashion shows مايا انستغرام مايا شربين الفيسبوك بيج مايا شربين تويتر مايا شربين. so give me a follow and thank you.
Action. Why not take the H out? I don't think anyone is gonna nail it and I guess it's confusing.
Because it'd be a whole other name?
Yep. We're ready.
Action.
Action, please. Why not drop the H? I don't think anyone is nailing it and it's pretty much confusing.
Because it'd be a whole other name. It's not Farah and it's not Fayda. It's Farah.
You're what else with the H?
Well,
Hi, my name is Sydney Clips, and I'm originally from the West Coast, so what's unceded Coast Salish territory. I studied at Arts Umbrella Theatre Conservatory before moving to Toronto at the end of 2018. Yeah, so I play Rita. Rita is one of the corporate interviewers, and she is a person who's very concerned about her career, very concerned about her reputation and advancement. She's not somebody who particularly questions any of the systems around her. She's not someone who's particularly well read outside of her own little kind of universe. She possesses a kind of pervasive racism that's very steeped in ignorance, and so I think we hear a lot of stories and are invested in a lot of stories that are about people who are really fighting and challenging systems, but she is a character who is not an activist, and so I found that to be quite an interesting challenge. And yeah, she doesn't question any of the systems around her, and has not read a lot outside of her zone. I loved the script when I first read it. I thought it was very truthful to the experiences of these young women. I've heard many firsthand stories from friends of mine who have had similar ones, and so I just wanted to be a part of a project that highlighted the unfairness and inequity that goes on in these types of situations. I just really enjoyed the humor in it as well, especially for my character. We definitely play with the satire and the different levels of her ignorance and but within that, you know, the actual barriers that these people face, and so we didn't want to soft pedal any of that in order to actually give the facts of the situation. Mariam is a delight. I love working with her. I thought that she is so clear on what she wants. She's so direct in her vision, and I really appreciate that as an actor. But she also allows room for a little bit of exploration as well, which is a fine, delicate balance that she just walks so wonderfully. And she's created just a really great group of people around her as well to make a very lovely day on set. Everyone's very friendly. Everyone is very hard at work, you know, telling this story that's so important. But she's done it with a lot of thoughtfulness and care and real clarity. So I love working with her.
I'm a writer, teacher, PhD researcher. I was born here in Canada in Halifax, and I grew up here and moved back to Lebanon with my parents when I was 13. I spent another 13 years in Lebanon and then moved back to Canada, to do my PhD. I'm studying rhetoric and cultural politics, and my dissertation is on Palestinian political identity as expressed in youth cultures around the world, both under occupation and in refugee camps, as well as in North America and Europe. My master's was about dream analysis, alchemy, and occultism, occult literature, so it was entirely different. and I did that in Lebanon. So my role in Her Shoes is the character Farah. She's a 27-year-old queer Palestinian activist who basically shakes up the whole dynamic between the interviewees and the interviewers. She calls out their racism, and it's such a relief for me because it feels like she's an alter ego who says everything that I want to say, especially considering that my studies are in this domain.
My name is Lena, and I am Egyptian Canadian. I was born and raised in Egypt, and I lived a little bit in Saudi Arabia, and then I moved here for university. I did marketing in my undergrad, and I'm currently working as a marketing coordinator. I did not study film, but I've always had interest in film. I think it's interesting and creative, and I love the industry. I've never had any acting experiences. This is the first time ever for me to be on any set, and it's very exciting, and I knew I would feel a certain way about being on a set, and just being here is very exciting and very insightful. In Her Shoes, I'm helping around the set, and I'm also being an extra in the background. And I just help the crew with whatever they need to be doing on set that day.
Okay.
In Her Shoes الموضوع بيتكلم عن البطالة اللي الناس العرب بيواجهوها لما بيجوا هنا جداد في كندا، والموضوع ده مهم جدا لأن هو بيسلط ضوء مهم على كمية المهاجرين الجداد الكنديين هنا في المجتمع العربي، لأنه هي دي مشكلة كبيرة ناس كتير بتمر بيها هنا.
Hi, my name is Nurhan. I came here when I was just 8 years old, all the way from Jordan, and you know, it took some time obviously for me to adjust to this beautiful country, and at first I did not know any English, and you know, it took me 15 years to love this country. It definitely was not an easy path, and at this moment right now I can say I'm very happy and, you know, proud for all the years that what this country taught me and what I've grown to be. So I went to York. I went to finish my media and cinema studies, and I felt like this country gave me some opportunities to meet great people from different cultures, and I love that because I love learning new things and about different cultures. I'm the production manager for In Her Shoes short film, and pretty much what I do is I'm responsible of hiring the crews, making sure everything is managed from each department, so the art department, the acting department, you know, the producer herself, Mariam, and the director herself, making sure that I'm her right hand. My experience so far has been really good. Obviously some challenges have been, you know, here and there, but that is very normal at every set. Something's going to be thrown at you, and just have to be patient and deal with it as it comes. So the subject of film means a lot to me actually, because it's a very, very personal. I feel a lot of people relate to it. Personally, I relate to it because after finishing university, especially jumping into the film industry, I felt that I had to prove myself, and I had to get that experience. And sometimes you have to deal with certain types of people that, you know, might not be welcoming, might not be not validate you, for example, because there's so many reasons to it. And feeling like, you know, you want to fit in and not want to fit in. So yeah, I feel like everyone, in not just the film industry, there's different departments that we all go through that process where we don't feel invalidated, and it's nice that we use this piece of art to to express that through everyone's voices.
Hi, my name is Arshad Tahir. I came to Canada in 1988. I was 4 years old. I came from Fiji Islands, and when I came to Canada, I did go to school for human resources marketing when I became older. I've always had an interest in the arts, coming from a family that did enjoy singing and dancing among ourselves, that kind of went into my professional life in acting. My role in Her Shoes is as Mariam. Mariam is a girl who came from a diplomat family. She traveled around a lot. She knows how to speak 6 languages. She's really well versed in other people's cultures and religions, and she's just at a point in her career where she's looking for a new challenge. It was very nice playing Mariam simply because she's not similar to me in the sense of she has like a strong silence about her. She's someone that can be in a room and she observes everyone, and she also is being careful of how she says certain things simply because she comes from a diplomat family. She's been conditioned to say the right things the right way, even if a person is being offensive. My experience with Mariam, the director, has been wonderful. Right from the moment that I've emailed my submission to the moment I got to audition and film, I love being in a room with someone who what you see is what you get.
Hi, my name is Mira. I'm the artistic director on this film. I moved to Canada 8 years ago, and I grew up in Jordan before that, and my background is Palestinian. This film is trying to shed light on the employment barriers that Arab women face in Canada. So I really had to work with that topic and sort of try to create an overall design theme that would evoke this loneliness, this challenge, this grayness, the monotone life that we experience in a city, and the challenges that come with living in a metropolitan space. So the set design and the costume really has to reflect on the emotion that this film is trying to portray. So that comes from the color palettes that we're dealing with, the grays and the blues that are continuously mimicked throughout the city. But then when we're looking at the Arab candidates, we're drawing on the colors of the heritage. So we're looking at a lot of red, a lot of sort of a conceptual embroidery design, a lot of colorful palettes, and as well as like a deserty, neutral tone of beige that is not really something that we see living in a skyscraper city. I've worked as a costume and set designer in theatre productions, and a lot of the theatre productions that I worked with are also focused on Middle Eastern art, Middle Eastern conflict, dealing with a lot of historical background of the Middle East, like the Lebanese Civil War, dealing with obviously the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, or I must say the Israeli occupation. So I have a background in theatre, particularly in design, and I've always been interested in exploring film. A lot of people might think that it's very similar, but with my experience on this film, I've noticed that there's such a different approach to creating a film as opposed to a piece of theatre. I've been acting and I've been on stage since a very young age. I was a ballerina for the majority of my life, and I noticed a new love for design, set design, costume design, and creating a sort of aesthetic mood or setting the runway for the script that Mariam has written.
Hello, my name is Rodrigue Hamal. I am a Lebanese filmmaker based in Toronto. I came to Canada 3 years ago, back in July 2019. Originally, I started filmmaking in Lebanon. I graduated in 2005 from Académie Libanaise des Beaux-Arts, or Lebanese Academy for Fine Arts. Ever since I graduated, I ventured in TV. I started in the industry with TV as content producer, and then I climbed to creative director, and in the meantime I was also writing independent short films. I also did documentaries, infomercial corporate films, but my favorite is documentary and narrative, and this is what I'm focusing on right now in Canada. And right now we are shooting a short film called In Her Shoes, directed by Mariam Momani. I am the co-writer on In Her Shoes, the short film directed by Mariam Momani. When Mariam told me about this project, she had an idea, and this idea was actually based on an actual report that was based on how Arab immigrants, and especially female, are facing challenges and difficulties finding jobs upon their arrival, and how they're also struggling to integrate within the Canadian community and being accepted for who they are, while being misjudged, discriminated, dealing with racism sometimes. So we took all of that, and my job was to take all those reports and put them in a narrative context. And Mariam had a couple of characters in mind. So what we did is we studied each character and we built each separately. Want to give as much as we can representation, and also to kind of have each one of them debunk a certain Arab myth that unfortunately the Canadian society or community might have towards these women or these characters. And it wasn't easy because there's so much misjudgment and misinformation, and we wanted as much as possible to combine all those without actually preaching. We want the audience to be entertained and at the same time be informed. So hopefully this film can be a change perspective, and hopefully things could, evolve to for the best.
Hi everybody, my name is Shireen Salti. I'm the former executive director of the Canadian Arab Institute. I moved to Canada when I was 15 years old. I identify as a first generation Palestinian Canadian. At the age of 25, I was honored to become the executive director of the Canadian Arab Institute, a national nonpartisan organization focused on the interests and issues of the Canadian Arab community. I'm so glad to be supporting this film, debunking myths around Arab identity in Canada. When my mom tells me I'm an impatient person, I tell her, "La, Mama, I waited 3 years to see a project like this come to fruition." In 2019, I happily wrote a federal government grant on behalf of the Canadian Arab Institute, debunking Arab myths. What we really wanted is to conduct short films to debunk these myths, these stereotypes that Arabs are not all heterosexual, that Arabs are not all white, that Arabs are not all Muslim, that Arabs are very diverse. They come from a vast number of demographics, social identities, political views, religions, ethnicities, you name it. And that's what this film is seeking to do. We're seeking to debunk the myth that Arab women are not qualified to be in leadership positions. In her shoes, this film will seek to do just that. And I'm very, very excited that this project is now coming to fruition. Alhamdulillah, all these Arab youth and women contributed so much to this project, and special thanks to Mariam Momani, who has been an excellent partner to work with, and I look forward to the screening day.
Sure. My name is Saeed Dejani. I'm a Palestinian Puerto Rican American. I just immigrated to Canada about 4 months ago with my Saudi wife. I've been in the Middle East for about 10 years, so it's like a whole new world where Canada and the US kind of bleed for me, and it feels like home again. And it feels great to be here. I moved about 4 months ago. I'm residing in Hamilton right now. What brought us out here was my wife being a maternal fetal medicine, high-risk pregnancy doctor. She got a fellowship in McMaster, so that was a great opportunity for her and for us. So that's what kind of shifted us out here. So having just moved, it was really important for me to kind of like connect as much as possible and kind of get myself in. So right now I'm actually volunteering, I'm PAing, I'm starting almost from scratch in film. I have more of a theater background when it comes to kind of performance, the performance arts. And so this is all very new to me. It's just great to be around a supportive kind of Arab cast, Arab crew. So trying your hand out to see where you really fit in, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. So there's, right now I'm just keeping an open mind, just trying to stay positive, and that's really been my outlook transitioning from the Middle East out here, where I knew the culture is going to be different. But fortunately, because I lived in the States, is a compelling script. It touches on a lot of points that I think really resonate with, I want to say, Arab Americans at large, or Arab Canadians. For me, having grown up in the US, for example, and even my experiences here, where just the simple thing of not hearing your name being pronounced the right way, for example, and kind of giving in, right? There's this idea that we feel like we have to assimilate, and so Arabs kind of end up losing themselves to a degree. That's something I genuinely believe, and I've seen that in myself. And so coming back, in my later 30s, I think it's almost more important to me now than even before to kind of hold on to that and really even encourage my community to embrace, well, their name, right? And I think that's one theme that kind of like is really in this script and really spoke to me.
Directing is really interesting. It's exciting to see something that you've created come to life. To always have, it's like you see a perspective that you want to create in your head, but you're seeing it come to life, and you're putting yourself in the shoe of the person who's watching. That on its own is a great feeling. And it's also like I feel really grateful to have been given the chance right now to discover this talent of mine or this passion of mine. It's hard to really, control everybody while also maintaining that, easygoing style. I really do have a easygoing style. I don't like yelling. Usually we've given that idea about directors that they're very serious. They direct everybody on the set. Like, that's what I want. They're very specific about what I'm realizing is that a really good director has to also be flexible, because there are very last minute changes and things that could be unpredictable that would really show up, and sometimes you need to get out of that one perspective that you've set for that film, and you have to really be flexible and in a fast-paced environment like a set. Honestly, seeing the team come together to create this, seeing this love in everybody's energy, they're all happy and proud to be doing something like this, and to see all of our visions align, it's just something that really made me really happy and proud. Yes, Hamsa, thank you for being here. Thank you for being one of our supporters.
And thank you for always speaking about women and Arab women and our challenges, and I love you.
Habibi. Love you too.